What's up, everybody? It's me, MSM Comments here. Today I wanted to talk about story. So, some of y'all have been commenting asking for the storyline of my characters, and I've been thinking about it, and I decided that today was the day. So I'm going to draw my characters and give you the background. Without further ado, let's begin. Xavier Wilson grew up young with his mother and father. However, when he was 2 years old, his father got involved with some shady men, a part of the mafia, and was unfortunately killed, leaving Xavier to live with his mother until he was 16 years old. When 16, in high school now, with his friend Markus, he stumbled upon a generator from the micro-billionaire corporation known as Alpha Corp. This generator would change his life, as after touching it and gaining superpowers, he would become the vigilante or superhero known as Captain Kai. With the help of his friend Markus helping him in the background, he would then protect people as a teenage superhero, dealing with many struggles. His powers are he has super strength, the ability to shoot a heat blast from his diamond logo, and an electric blast from his diamond logo. He also knows gymnastics and is a skilled fighter in his high school wrestling team. His suit also allows Markus and him to view different things, such as night vision, infrared, and also facial recognition. Markus can also review background recordings from the perspective of Xavier through the eyes of the suit. The suit also is specifically made to be able to take heavy damage and resistance, making him just extra resilient to damage. Fun facts though, back when I first started creating this character, the diamond logo wasn't even a thing. Originally it was going to be 2 C's, kind of like some Superman stuff. Because back then I spelled Kai like it is my actual name in IRL. When I did that, it was okay. But then I played a game called DC Supervillains, and in that game, you can't really do that for logos when I created the character in that game as custom. I randomly decided to go with the red diamond, and it's just kind of stuck. And yeah. And yes, before you ask, I think it is pretty given and obvious, but I'm just going to say it anyway. Spider-Man, the character, did inspire this character. I've always loved Spider-Man and always envisioned being a superhero just like Spider-Man. So, in a way, that's kind of how I created this character of Captain Kai. He's been through a lot of development over the years, but yeah, Skyrim's been to Ben. That doesn't even make sense. Whatever. That's kind of how it was created. And the mask thing is just kind of like, there. Although, the belt does not have actual practical use. I know, surprising, you'd think there'd be some gadgets there, but no, the belt's literally just for fashion. It's hilarious. Anyway, that's Captain Kai. Sara was raised by her father, as her mother unfortunately passed away when giving birth to her. Sara's lived with her father for most of her life, and up to being a teenager, everything seemed to be somewhat normal. However, unfortunately, when she was 13, around that time, her father was diagnosed with lung cancer. Meaning that Sara then had to kind of take up the role of raising herself. She did this even up to when she was 16 and met eventually Xavier Wilson and Markus in high school. She then would get to know Xavier more and end up developing feelings for him. And unknowns to her at the time, he did too. They would then go out, but Sara couldn't help but notice that her father was withering away every day. And she couldn't live her life thinking about that. They had nowhere near enough money to pay for medical bills, but something had to be done. Something drastic. Something illegal. And eventually, one night, she snuck into the Alpha Corp science lab and took an experimental military suit they were working on at the time. With that, Sara donned the mantle for the first time ever as Go, Steve. Back when I was creating Captain Kai, I always wanted him to kind of have like a love interest type character. And originally, I never really knew what she would look like. In my mind, I kind of imagined her looking more like a Gwen Stacy type character, where she was a bit more on the intelligent side rather than just, pretty face like MJ is. But when I first drew her, as I mentioned in my sketchbook video, she did look more like an MJ type character, which I liked the drawing, but just didn't fit the vision I had in mind for her at the time. So I kind of tweaked it and came up with this design that I've used since for the character, and I quite like this. Fun fact though, the necklace that she's wearing with the heart pendant on it is actually a gift from her mother, technically. It was given to her by her father, and it used to belong to her mother's, which is why she always wears it, no matter what. And yeah, that's all for now. Markus grew up with his older brother, who is, I want to say, like 5 years older than him. Markus and his brother's parents unfortunately passed away when Markus was only 5. His brother being 10. Since then, they at one point lived with his uncle. However, once Marcus's older brother came of age, and mainly because of the mistreatment they were getting from their uncle, Marcus's older brother moved them both out of there and into an apartment where his older brother was. Since then, he's been raised by his older brother for 3 years, all until he is now 16. 16, he goes to high school with his best friend, Xavier Wilson, who he's known since he was 7. Xavier knows very well about Marcus's living situation and is always there for him. Markus has always been a dear friend to Xavier, even when Xavier suddenly got his powers. Actually, even more than. Markus kept Xavier's secret with him to the grave, especially about Captain Kai's secret identity. He kept this secret with him close to heart and was an ally to Xavier. Since Markus is a pretty good skilled when it comes to creating computers and operating them, Markus created the system inside of Xavier's costume. It monitors him and helps him out from his room, from a computer. Kind of like the Jarvis or Tony Stark or, Ned Lee to Xavier's Spider-Man from like the Homecoming movie, that type of character. And using a headset, he helps Xavier all the time with his superhero thing, letting him know about backgrounds and everything. He also covers for Xavier when spur of the moments happen at school, and that. He's been really good friends with Xavier and always has his back. Always. Even in the toughest moments. Fun fact, originally when I created Markus, he wasn't actually African American. Instead, he was a ginger. Also, when I first created Markus, he wasn't a guy in the chair type character for Xavier. Instead, he was simply just the character that kind of just filled in for him at school and kind of covered for him, like, oh, Xavier's like, oh, where is he? He's in the bathroom or something like that. But I decided to make a drastic change and make him the guy in the chair type character. And I feel like it fits the character and helps him out a lot more. Well, guys, I hope you like this first installment of drawing my characters while giving them storylines. I'll be doing more soon, and more on other characters, such as the villains, which is going to be really fun to do because they have lots of juicy stories that I know y'all are going to love. Without further ado, make sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification so you always get notified whenever I upload new videos and sorts. And peace out, y'all.